Welcome back. Today is the day we start the first build in our new shop. Well, the first real build. And it didn't always look this good or this bad, depending on how you look at it. We had to do a little work just to get it down to its new home here. Well, it's temporary home. This is kind of like the halfway house for wrecked vehicles. Eventually it'll go on to its new home, but for right now, this is where it's gonna live until it's all done. So let's go back in time and see what it looks like, when we got it and what it took to get it here. Today's new build is a 2004 Ford F-150 Lightning. It's the last year of the second generation Lightning before the third generation when Ford, well, neutered them. They became electric. This one is a gas guzzling monster, 5.4 liter V8 supercharged. So it's got a little damage on the other side. Let's go take a look at it. So our Lightning does have a few miles on it, 130,000 I think, but for the year, it's actually kind of average. But it did come from North Carolina, so it is completely rust-free, nice and clean underneath. And because they don't have the intense sun like you do in the southern states where you get rust-free parts, we also have paint that's still left on here and a bunch of plastic that's not cracked. So we get the best of both worlds. Unfortunately, we got a dent here and some, well, parts that would be rather useful to have right now, like a wheel and, well, the rest of the spindle. So we're gonna have to figure out how we're getting it off the trailer because the safety experts don't like when I work on the trailer. So instead of working on the trailer where it's unsafe, we're going to take this tripod of a truck off the trailer, which is 10 times more unsafe because I don't have an end loader in my backyard. Just because, well, if they're gonna be unhappy, let's make them really unhappy, right? So first thing we gotta do is get it running. Battery's dead, of course. So we'll unwrap our little plastic Christmas present here and see if we can get it started first. And then if we do, hopefully it'll drive off the trailer-ish.
It's usually a good sign when you pick up your vehicle at the auction and it's still wrapped in plastic like this, especially on the front end, keeping the hood closed. Because that means that it's been taped up since it was checked in and nobody's been messing with anything under the hood. At least I hope not. This is the first time I'm seeing it, so we're about to find out. We got a 70s throwback external hood release on this thing. Looks like everything is still there. We got a supercharger, that's the most important, and a dead battery. Pretty standard. And lots of dust, just to sweeten the deal a little bit.
See what happens. Ooh, that does not sound good. The mileage will remain a mystery. Typical Ford of this generation. Very rarely do they work. So it might come on. If not, we'll have to send it out, be fixed. But I think we got no brakes. Well, at least we have a brake light. But we should be able to kind of drive it. Well, this is gonna be sketchy. It's gonna be fun. Because you guys always ask, the jumper pack, JS 3000 by Top Down, thing's great. Starts them every time. Getting it off the trailer actually isn't that difficult. With enough brute force, it's coming off of here. Getting it off the trailer without damaging the trailer or the truck any more than we already have, well, that's what's gonna take a little bit of work. So the problem is we can roll it back with no suspension until we get to the ramps, and then it's not gonna go down the ramps. So we're gonna have to figure out a solution to get it off the ramps and then get it down to the ground. Once it's on the ground, we can just drag that suspension all over my driveway. I don't care. So let's at least see if we can get it there. Or break something trying.
Maybe I should put smooth ramps on my list of fabrication projects. That would make this job a whole lot easier. Not for getting up the ramps, but definitely for getting down, which is all I really care about.
Before you start with the, why don't you just get a tilt bed trailer and this would be a whole lot easier? Well, I'm not independently wealthy and nobody has wanted to sponsor me yet, so I gotta work with what I have. So I think it should slide on that, well, 8x8, whatever that is under there. We're gonna find out. Worst case, I'll just put it on a dolly and roll it off of there. We should be able to stop with the e-brake if it works. And if it doesn't, well, then we ain't gonna stop. Seems like it's doing something. So is it gonna go anywhere? What moved? The block did. How about that? Things are going my way so far. Don't worry. They'll stop. So I would imagine our luck is going to run out when this block hits the metal at the end of the trailer. Like right there. I'm guessing that's where we're at. Sure enough. Let the sketchiness begin, as if that wasn't sketchy enough already. So my thinking here is that that's in my way. I'm gonna throw a jack underneath there, jack it up. I'll move this block back a little bit so that we get up over this little ridge for this plate, put it up on top of the plate, and see if I can't keep going. Worth a shot. It does not get much closer than that. The trailer ends right here, so another ½ an inch back and that thing's going like that. So I think what we're gonna do, since we made it that far, maybe just put the jack underneath that, see how that goes. So instead of backing this thing off the trailer, we're gonna pull the trailer out from under it. We got it lift up enough that some of the weight's off the trailer on this side, so I think it'll just roll down the ramp on the other side and set down nice and gently. Or it'll go down violently, but one way or another, it's about to be off the trailer. So cross your fingers for whichever one you want. I think we're probably gonna do this in a multi-step process. I'll pull forward a little bit, then come back and lower the jack down, just so it's not teetering so badly.
I might need to rescue my jack. See, it's not happy. Hope it stays on there as well as it stayed on that board. Also, hope I can get my jack out from under me here. We're off the trailer and on the ground with what I think we can agree is minimal casualties. We had a cooler down there that was already leaking and bent before. Actually, it was bent before. It's leaking now, and it's still bent. So take a look at it. Looks like somebody turned in front of them, or they turned in front of somebody and caught the side of another car. Caught the suspension, and away it went. And the suspension caught the back of the fender, smashed it under the door, they opened the door, and now we need a door. F-150, F-150, F-150. Easy parts to find. We might need some inner structure in here. Definitely need a hood latch, because this is like the old school ones where you got to do it outside the car. Yeah, we definitely need a radiator support, piece of the apron, headlights, headlight mounting panel. The outer piece of the grille is F-150. This is a Lightning specific grille. Whether or not it gets one when it goes back together, I don't know. Front bumper is going to be a little difficult to find, along with this bracket, which we could probably straighten out. It's metal, and this one is plastic. Those will be a challenge. The suspension is different for the Lightnings. I did find that. It's just not here yet. And the reason I had all this fun wasn't just to annoy the safety experts. I need my trailer, so before I get the suspension, it can just sit right here. As soon as I get the suspension on it and a wheel, we can drive around again, back up on the trailer. Yeah, I'll be looking around for some rust-free parts, because this thing is pretty clean. Once we get the suspension on here, we'll measure it and see if our frame has moved at all. We definitely have a little damage up there, which we can change the bracket on the front. We can actually replace part of the frame section if we have to. These were repairable, but whether or not it's bent further back, I'm not sure. We don't have any airbags deployed, and the interior is super clean, minus a tear right here in the seam, so maybe I'll see if I can get that stitched up. There's no seat airbag, so it's not a problem stitching that up. See? Got an owner's manual. Did we get the supplement for the Lightning? Aha, we did. We got the key code for the door locks, for the keyless entry. It was a Ford gimmick, but joke's on them, it was kind of cool. Steering wheel does have a cover on it. It's probably got some wear underneath it, but our headliner's not falling down. No sunglasses. No garage door opener. Nope. We got some packages. Oh, it's freaking out. I shut it off and now it's mad. There you go. Let's see what kind of presents we got. There we go. O2 sensor. 4 of them in here. We have 4 O2 sensors. That'd be my guess. Got the old owner's name.
send him a link to the videos so you can see what happened to his truck. There's another surprise package. Late model restoration. What do we have in here? Spark plug boots. Wonder if we had a misfire or something he was trying to correct. I don't know. We'll have to get some suspension on it and maybe even a front end, and we can figure out what he was trying to fix. Wonder if there's any goodies in the back. Of course it doesn't stay. Why would it stay? We got a bumper in there. Get our prop rod. We have a lower grill. I don't see any suspension though. That'll stay just long enough to fall on my head. A marker light. Lower grill matches the upper. A fog light. And half a bumper. An umbrella. Somebody's dirty laundry. I bet this is the stuff the auction took out of the car. You see a registration, I think. Jiffy Lube. Oh, now I have the owner's number. I have to give him a call. Yeah, a bunch of towels. What else do we have? Wash and shine kit. Wash mitt. Oh no, did I buy a Clean Freaks truck? That's okay. I don't mind buying a Clean Freaks truck as long as he doesn't expect me to keep it clean. A little cooler. Oh, I got floor mats. Umbrella. A crate of more towels, window cleaner, car wash, more cleaners, more wheel cleaner, tire shine. Yep, there was a Clean Freak. New wash mitt. Well, my detail guy will love that. He got presents. Maybe we'll go throw the floor mats in there before I get the carpet dirty. At least these. And it has a bed mat. That's really about as far as I can go right now. I did throw the battery charger on it so it could charge up, and then I'll stuff it back in that corner because it might be here for a little while. It's only gonna be a couple seconds for you, so we'll come back when I have some suspension. We can throw it on and hopefully drive it around like a normal person, or as normal as I could be. Well, I did find some suspension parts, and it turns out that Facebook Marketplace isn't always horrible. Actually, these came about 2 hours from where the truck came from. Had to go down there to drop off some other parts and pick up these and some other parts, so it made the trip worthwhile. And I got to meet a fan of the channel. His wife is also a fan of the channel. He's been in the body industry for like 30 years and just enjoys seeing other people do things that he does. And his wife enjoys my videos because my voice puts her to sleep. I'm happy to help any way I can. So thanks for watching, you guys. I'll put a link down below. He does have a lot of Lightning parts. If you're watching this for Lightning content, he might be able to help you out because he's got a lot of leftover stuff. He parts out a lot of them. We got our suspension complete. Even got the lug nuts, which we're gonna need because I had nothing. We got the bolts for the caliper, which if you buy a caliper, you don't get those. Pretty much everything that we should need so that we don't have to drive around in the car dolly anymore. We don't have a tire, but we'll throw the spare on for now. And then we'll get a set of tires later after we burn off what's left of those, because supercharger. There's no point in throwing our suspension on here and our wheel and tire on here just yet because it wouldn't turn if we did. This bumper is in our way, so we're gonna have to pull it off of here. There's a couple of bolts from the back. They go through the mounts that are welded onto the end of our frame. This side's a little bent. And we got them off of there. A little wiggle and pull and we get one out. Full disclosure, I've never actually fixed this job on a Ford F-150 Lightning, so I'm learning a little bit. Like the fact that they bolted the heat exchanger to the bottom of the bumper, so we got to pull that off of there. I've worked on Lightnings before, just never did a job like this, where I had to take all this stuff apart. I've also worked on a lot of F-150s of this generation. We're just going to let that hang there, and then we'll bend our bumper. See if we can get it to slide out of those brackets. And we did. And say it with me, everyone. Somebody has been here before. All those Ford stickers, yep, those aren't from the factory. Now it's time for a little percussive therapy.
I have my fender realignment tool. We're going to see how my skills are at PDR. Getting closer. And that doesn't go to this. All right, time to swing for the fences and really straighten some stuff out here. Look at that. We also removed the fender liner. It's a multi-purpose tool. If you need any PDR done on your car, let me know. I'd be happy to hammer it out for you. We got a multi-piece spindle here. It's kind of dangling on the upper ball joint. There's the rest of the spindle on our tie rod. Pull our cotter pin out of our upper ball joint. It looks like this ABS wire might still be good, so we'll try to save it just in case. Spin the clip off of there. They just push on, but if you twist them off and unthread them, you don't break them. Loosen up our upper ball joint. Tap it out of there. Little wear on our upper ball joint there. Not sure if it was like that before the accident. The lower ball joint gave up the fight. The upper ball joint might have just taken a little damage. Doesn't matter if it was worn before or after the accident. It needs to be replaced now, so we're going to go ahead and replace our control arm. So we'll unbolt it from the brackets on the frame. It's just a nut and a bolt. There's some little blocks that the bolts go through for the alignment. Sometimes they make it back in there, sometimes they don't. Slide our control arm out. It doesn't slide out like it's supposed to. I think those brackets might be a little tweaked. Unbolt what's left of our brake hose from our lower control arm. And we'll pull the rest of our spindle off of our tie rod end. Putting all the nuts back on where they came from so I don't mix them up. Unbolt our sway bar link. Can't do that on Illinois vehicles. And somebody's replaced this before, so that's kind of cheating. I'm just putting this one back together so I don't lose all the parts. And I think I can figure out where it goes. We can unbolt the top of our shock. I have the jack underneath the Widowmaker so it doesn't launch itself across the floor of the garage. And we're just going to bump it a little bit at a time because it was spinning the top of the shock. We can unbolt the bottom of the shock. And we'll pull our shock out of here like we're defusing a bomb because that's all that's holding the control arm up except for this jack. And if it slips out, we're about to find out how much potential energy is stored in this little ball of death and dismemberment. We've now neutralized our little coiled up claymore so we can pry down on our lower control arm to get our spring out of here. Now we can get to the bolts on our lower control arm. Nut and a bolt, just like the top, only a little bigger. We'll lift up the control arm, make it easier to slip these bolts out of here. Okay, it's supposed to. And our control arm comes out. And that lower control arm is specific for Lightning. Everything else is the same as an F-150. We have our whole used assembly here. We're going to take it apart a little bit because I didn't eat my Wheaties this morning and I don't want to mess with this whole thing. So we're just going to pull the lower control arm off. We'll put that in and then we should be able to put the spindle and the upper control arm in one piece. We'll see. If not, it's one more nut and we can take that apart. Slip our lower control arm in here. It's a good sign when it fits. It means our brackets aren't bent. Or it's a really bad sign and it means our brackets and our new control arm are bent, but that's highly unlikely. I'll throw a jack underneath our control arm. We'll slip our spring in here and start reassembling our little coiled up claymore. Here we go. Headed into Widowmaker territory. Slide our shock in there. The nut on the top. Once we get that in a couple threads, neutralized our claymore. Alright, we're safe. Even if the jack slips out, it's not going anywhere. Bolt the top of our shock down. We'll just keep bumping it. Every time you hit it, it gets a little tighter, and once it tightens up, it'll clamp down. Now we're going to level out the lower control arm so that it's flat where it'll be when the car's on the ground. We want to do that before we tighten up our bushings on the back, because otherwise they're going to be bound up and twisted. This way they'll be clamped down in the position they're going to be in most of the time. Keeps you from having premature bushing wear. Tighten up our bolts on our control arm so we can let our jack down. We'll throw our sway bar link in here. Tighten that down. Click. I didn't want to invest the 45 seconds it would have taken to pull the nut off the upper ball joint, so we're going to try to put this thing on all in one piece. It's not super heavy. It's just a little feisty. It's always trying to bite your fingers when it's twisting on that ball joint. We get our lower ball joint in there. Now we're going to get our bolts in for our upper control arm. And we're good. We'll jack up our suspension and load it so we can tighten up that upper control arm. Tighten those bolts down to manufacturer specs or Ugga-Duggas. Tighten up our tie rod end. And tighten up our lower ball joint. We'll reconnect our ABS wire and see if we can complete this job with no extra dash emojis. Now we have our suspension on there, so we can go ahead and throw a tire on, but Scott's F-150 Emporium is low on inventory, so we're just going to have to use the spare. And while we may have gotten an owner's manual, we didn't get the key for the lock to let our spare down. So we're going to make our own. So we just have a socket on the end of a very long extension that shows just how useless those locks actually were. Please don't steal my spare now that I've given you this information. Pull the hanger out of the center of our spare and slide it out of here. And it looks like this is the first time the spare has ever been down from the truck. I bet it still has that vintage 2004 air in it. We'll wind our winch back up. Now we can pull our custom spare tire key back out of here. We're going to lose our socket. It's just a turbo socket. Don't remember what size. It was the one that worked. Since using the e-brake to stop wasn't really convenient, we're going to go ahead and clamp off this brake hose. I didn't get a new one yet from the parts store, and I want to be able to drive it. So we're just going to clamp it up. It'll be fine for moving it around the shop and getting it on the trailer. Or going down the road if you really want to live dangerously. Now we can throw our spare on here. And now I realize we have a bit of a problem. There were some clues along the way that I just totally dismissed, like the fact that the lower ball joint was cut short, or the tie rod went in from the bottom instead of the top. So I think we're going to pull the tire off this side, swap it over to the other side, and see if it fits. The diameter is a little bit bigger on this wheel, so it should fit. And this side should fit with no problem, if my suspicions are correct. I mean, they did build it from the factory like this, so why wouldn't it fit? Ford silly lug nuts. To supplement the cost of this rebuild, I did sell off a portion of my vintage 2004 numbers matching spare tire air to a Lightning purist, so now I'm forced to fill it up with much less valuable 2026 air. Give it the old thumb pressure test, and give it a shake and see what kind of suspension parts we're going to be replacing. And we'll throw the wheel on this side and see if it fits. There we go. This side, the suspension's just too good for a spare. And see what suspension parts we have on this side that are worn.
Well, our goal was to have a truck that we could drive on all four wheels instead of a tripod, and we achieved our goal. However, we have a little bit of a problem. You can see this thing's got a little bit of a gangster lean here, and that's because, and it's also the reason I had to put the spare on that side because I couldn't put it on this side. This spindle is a 2-inch drop spindle. Now, there's a couple of solutions for this problem. I can get a spindle to match the other side and drop the back end and lower the whole truck 2 inches, or 3 in the back if we want it level. Or I can get the correct spindle. And I'm leaning towards getting the correct spindle. And the reason for that is I plan on driving this thing, so I want to be able to put the spare on if I need to. And if I can't put it on the front wheels, then I got to play musical tires. So I think we're just going to leave it at normal ride height. It'll ride better, be more practical. So I think I'm going to leave it alone. I'll just get the right spindle for this side. Don't know yet, but at least we got a truck that we can drive around without being on a dolly, so I can get it back on the trailer to head to its new home.
Many months later.
If the truck looks like it's sitting a little bit more level than before, it's because it is. I did swap out that spindle with an OEM one, so we're back up to normal ride height, somewhat. And I did take some measurements and find out that our frame rail is back just a little bit. It's collapsed right behind that wheel from where the wheel went back. Now, I could straighten out that frame rail, definitely within repair specifications, but these frames are so cheap and they're everywhere. I could pretty much have as many as I wanted. So I think I'm just gonna swap out the frame, because by the time I take everything apart so that I can get to the frame to work on it, I might as well just replace the frame. It's just about the same amount of time, and replacing a frame with one that's never been damaged, just a much better job. So let's do it that way. Besides, I got this new lift. I want to try it out. I think I have all the equipment I need to do this job, but if I don't, well, we'll just repurpose some of the old equipment and piss off the tool experts. So let's call it a day for today, because when we come back, we're gonna have our frame, and we're gonna start swapping the frame on our Lightning. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take sh- I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take sh- I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.